This comes from N64 Today. During the N64's heyday, Nintendo had plans to release an expansion pack for The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time by using the 64 disk drive add-on, the 64DD. It would interface with the original game to offer a new experience. Sadly, the 64 disk drive was destined to failure. Developed by Captain CDI, Zelda 64 Dawn and Dusk is a brand new Legend of Zelda 64 disk drive expansion game. You can play it on a 64DD development unit. Of course, this bit of kit is rarer than hen's teeth, so it's just as well you can also experience it on emulators or an original N64 console using a flash cart. Zelda 64 Dawn and Dusk was ported to 64DD by Luigi Blood, who previously released English translations of Mario Artist games. What's Zelda 64 Dawn and Dusk about? The expansion is brand new Legend of Zelda adventure. It uses the same assets and game engine as Ocarina of Time, but features a new world and story. The game is set in a once great kingdom, now split between East and West. In a bit of power, the West tried to tame a legendary beast. However, this new creature ended up attacking the East, resulting in a costly war for both sides. Thankfully, a legendary priestess confronted the beast and forced it into a deep slumber. Although this brought an end to the hostilities, each kingdom ultimately fell into ruin. You can play as a young descendant of this priestess, and now the time has come for you to set out for the Dusk side to stop the beast from rising once again. So, there is a side called pretty much the Dawn side and the Dusk side, and everything in the game is familiar looking, like everything was made from assets and stuff that's already in the game, but the village, the characters, the quests, and everything in the game is completely new. And if it's your first time playing the game, then it'll take about 3 hours. But it's really cool because it was developed specifically to there are tons and tons of Ocarina of Time mods out there, or people that try to make their own games from the Zelda 64 engine, but like 99% of them are never made, and they're all made to work on the original Nintendo 64. This was, like, the reason it's named Dawn and Dusk is the DD in the initials is for the disk drive. So this was developed specifically to run off of the hardware from the Nintendo 64 disk drive. So it kind of gives somewhat of a fulfillment for the people who always wanted the Ura expansion or something kind of like it. So this kind of goes and fills that void. So that's the interesting thing about it, is that it is actually a complete and full expansion of Ocarina of Time. And not only is it one of the only ones that actually exist and is all the way playable, but it exists to take advantage of some of the extra processing and memory that is allowed by the disk drive that the original Nintendo 64 wouldn't necessarily be able to give you. So, yeah.
It's cool though because it's its own unique project. So like there's beta Zelda restoration projects and Ura Zelda restoration projects, and it's not those.
Yeah,
it's not supposed to be Ura Zelda. It's its own new spin on it, which I think is great because we could hum and ha about what Ura Zelda was and all this stuff, and 20 people come to 20 different conclusions. But so this is not trying to be that. It's just trying to be its own cool thing, and I think it succeeds pretty well. And you mentioned Tony before. He did a review video on this on his channel as well, which is worth the watch. Although he actually played it using his disk drive, which is just an extra layer of awesome because he actually used the correct hardware. So instead of just the ROM.
Because we don't have like $10,000 to afford one. So
yes, we do not. I would not be able to do that. I wish I could. I try and use as much original hardware as I can when I stream and stuff like that, but like at a certain point it's just unattainable. So
Yeah. I actually messaged Luigi Blood, who was the one who ported the game or got it working for the disk drive. And I asked him, well, I was going to ask him if he could come on, but it was like so last minute that like he told me that he had the free time, but like it was like literally 2 minutes before we came on. So like it wasn't.
Oh.
Yeah. So almost maybe like next week or like another time he can come on and talk to us about it. But I wanted to talk about that, and Luke, Hylian Luke, one of our friends, he actually streamed the game for everyone who is interested. So if you go to the live stream that was held yesterday, just look in our past videos and you can see a complete playthrough by him of the game. So if you're interested.
Did you guys play it all?
Yeah, he played it all. It's just
a
like
short campaign. It's...
Yeah.
I just wasn't sure because I didn't tune in for it, so that's really cool. I'll have to give that a watch later.
Yeah, like it's one dungeon, one half dungeon that's like, you know, in like Breath of the Wild and Skyward Sword, sometimes getting to the dungeon, there's a bunch of puzzles and challenges that you have to do. It's kind of like that, to where like there's the main dungeon that's in this expansion, but then also getting to the dungeon is also a dungeon-like experience. And then there's like the mini boss and the dungeon item and everything. So like it's a brand new dungeon and everything, and it's really cool. Brand new village, NPCs, buildings, characters, like it's a whole new world basically. The Aladdin song popped in my head.
I know, as soon as you said that, I was like...
yeah, it's literally a whole new world.
All three of us were trying not to bust out into song.
As the description said, it's like there's a priestess a long time ago that sealed the boss, and you play as the priestess's grandson or whatever. So you're not playing as Link from Ocarina of Time. Like, this isn't something that's meant to be like fan canon between Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask or anything. This is like an entirely new Link in an entirely new world. Like, it's not even Hyrule. It's just like its own thing. It just happens to involve Zelda characters and stuff. So it's really cool. So please go check it out if you haven't already. Do you guys have any final things to say before we move on?
No, not at all. I think we kind of covered like a very similar topic to that. Not like talking about us actually like having us live stream it or getting Luke to do it, but we did have a very in-depth conversation about the 64 DD. So I think I'm good.
All right. Daniel, do you want to take the first Mario
Yes,
Lego thing?
Thanks, Yoda.
Yeah, so... Lego Mario! So we have two articles here.